What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. My name is Ramon, and this is Dad's Podcast Project. And today I wanted to talk about some of the technological changes or things that we've been implementing in our lives, what with this whole shelter in place, coronavirus, and just all that's been going on with that today, really, and for the past couple of weeks. We've been sheltered in place now for, 3 weeks now. Now, I did go back to work last week, and unfortunately, there was, there's like this 1 week on, 1 week off kind of thing that we're going through with my job, and my wife, she's kind of negotiated this whole same thing so we can kind of piggyback off one another. When like I'm off, she'll be on, and vice versa. But one of the things that we've implemented a lot recently in just our day-to-day has been the online ordering services that are available in a lot of the applications that are out there now for the iPhone and just on the Apple Store. So one of my coworkers, he actually introduced me to this whole world of ordering food via app. And I guess it must have been just out of my demographic or just off my radar, because I was not the type that just kind of would do that. I would always just go to the restaurant or go through the drive-through. And where I work, we have very short lunches. Our lunches are 30 minutes. So, and we're actually kind of far from places that are, I guess you would consider a variety of places to eat. There's a McDonald's right down the way. That is the quickest and closest place to us. Other than that, you kind of have to drive a little bit and hope that there's not a line or a lot of people, because you'll get back and you're going to have to like hoover your food because your lunch is going to pretty much be over by that point. So I'm not going to argue the whole, well, it would be nice if we had an hour lunch, because it's nice to get off a half hour early from work as well. So with that aside, my coworker, he's all about just ordering online, and everything's just online. So he actually introduced me to, I think it was Chick-fil-A was the first app he had me download, because he was going to go to Chick-fil-A and they took online orders. And so I was hesitant at first. It's like, well, I don't want to do this. What is this all about? And he convinced me, so I did, and I put in my credit card information and all that jazz and email, and come to find out it was very intuitive. It's very simple to use. You earn reward points, which I'll get to later in the podcast, but it is just an easy way to just tell them, this is what I want, and this is when I'm going to be there to pick it up. So have it ready. And you've already paid. You don't have to wait in line. Now with Chick-fil-A, you have the option of either getting down and picking it up from one of the cubbies that they have inside of their store, or you can wait in the drive-thru, which having a short lunch, I would not recommend that to anybody who has a short lunch. Just get out and get your food really quick and then get back and get on with it. So that's what we did. And it was like, wow, that was really simple. That was really smooth. I actually rather like this. And the whole deal with saving your orders and having the reward points where it's like, oh, you get a free drink. That's cool. Now, no two apps are created equally. There are apps like, Blaze Pizza. My wife, she was craving some pizza from Blaze for lunch, and her job, she can't really be on the phone. They're super strict. And I don't think any job really allows the staff or employees to get on their cell phones. However, you can find those pockets of time. So with me being home, she just texts me, Blaze Pizza, and this is my order. This is when I'm going to pick it up. And I ended up putting in the order through my cell phone, and I was ready for her to pick up. Now, ordering a build your own, they only give you 9 points, which is like, if you don't really compare it to how much the points are valued at, or like what you spend your points on, you think, okay, 9 is 9. Well, if you want to get a free pizza, a free build your own pizza, I believe it's like 200 points. Now you got to order a lot of stuff, a lot of pizzas just to get one free pizza. That's ridiculous. Now, Do I eat there that often? No. If it comes around that I end up getting a free pizza, fine. That's whatever. But come on, 9 points for one pizza. It just, I don't get their matrix. Chick-fil-A, it seems as if I've always got rewards to get something. And that's a place it's like I'm hardly ever going into. And they have a lot of different perks. Like right now, if you order during the month of April, and this is not a sponsored podcast by any means by Chick-fil-A, but if you go there, then you'll get like 20% or 20% more points by ordering through their app. Things like that. Other apps I've downloaded is Chipotle, which is another nice one. It's always good when you get that free burrito, especially when you're tight on money and you find out, oh, by the way, I've got some extra points. I might as well just go get that. Little Caesars for those hot and readies, because again, with the social distancing, it's actually nice to implement and use some of this technology. You order online, you just hop in and hop out. There's no, it's simple. It's very simple by comparison of having to do everything else. And even then it's like, I don't know, like I've had some, I guess that's a rant for another day. I won't steer too off topic, but those apps kind of led to this sort of transition that really my wife and I were trying out for the first time today. So with the social distancing, we really don't want to put ourselves out there if it's not necessary. And one of the ways that we're putting ourselves out there is going to the grocery store. Now, you have to be around people. You have to have that interaction at the cashier, at the check stand. There's a lot of room for, I don't know, cross-contamination, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And we thought, well, how about like using Instacart? And this is not a paid sponsorship or anything by Instacart. It's not even a review of Instacart. It's just, I'm merely just telling what it is that we're trying. And I had seen some other people using like grocery ordering apps online. I don't know if they were using Instacart specifically, but it kind of like sparked our interest. And I don't know, like I read some of the website. I'm not exactly sure all the ins and outs of it, but it seemed to be like an additional $20 using this service. Now, I didn't get into the nitty gritty with each price for each item, if those are also marked up, but I decided to try it out ordering from Costco. Now, Costco is a busy place. I actually liked when I went and there was a long line, but they were only allowing a certain number of people in at any given time. That was actually, I guess, palpable. Like I could do that, but I'm not sure if they're still doing that. And we do need a Costco run. We need eggs, milk, just the essentials. And so I figured if we're going to use a service like this, and an example of that is like using Uber Eats, it doesn't really make sense to order just maybe a meal from McDonald's for yourself and have Uber Eats deliver it to you, because then your maybe $10 tab or $8 or $9 tab is now $15. Like it's wildly more expensive to go that route for that service. Now, if you're ordering for a group where you've got maybe $40 worth of food, I'm not sure who's ordering $40 worth of McDonald's, but maybe you're ordering $40 worth of McDonald's and you go through Uber Eats and it's an additional $10 for that deal. Now it's a convenience fee. Now it's like, well, I don't have to lug all this food around. Someone will just bring it right to my door and we're good to go. with some things I can see, yeah. With fast food and using Uber Eats, I don't think I'd go that route, just because hearing stories about people, dipping into the bag, getting a couple fries for themselves or taking a little sip. I'm semi-germophobic in that sense. So I don't really see myself going that route. However, with groceries, a lot of things are already packaged up. They're already well put away. So especially with Costco, I don't see anyone really taking a swig of the milk. And even if they did, it's like, well, you would probably be able to tell. So we decided to try it out. Costco bills with 2 kids, it's darn near impossible to ever set foot in there and walk out with anything less than $100 bill. So having an additional $20 for the convenience of not having to go in there, not having to try to maneuver through those aisles, it's like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And everything was already preset in terms of the service fee, in terms of the tip that goes towards the driver. And we'll touch on the tip in a little bit, but just the fact that you can leave a note in your purchase that I just want you to leave it at my front door. And whether I'm home or I'm not, just leave it there and just go on your merry way. I don't really see that as being rude in a time like this, especially because the tip is already squared away through the application. There's no need for someone to hold their hand out like the pizza delivery of the 90s. And maybe even now, I'm not sure if people are still, if tip is included once you make that order over the phone, or if you are still having to tip someone once they come to your door. So I decided to go that route. We're giving it a shot, created the account, went through, got our regular over $100 purchase of Costco items and left that tip. Now, the reason why, and I go back and forth on this, when it comes to tipping, how much you tip, this, that, or whatever, wherever you stand on that, I think that especially now, given the fact that there are over 6 million Americans that are on unemployment, I'm not even sure if that number is accurate anymore. It might even be higher than that. A lot of people are turning to this. Companies like Instacart have seen a surge in their employment. Companies like Amazon are putting it out there that we need more people because there's been a shift in just the population's way of living life, sheltering in place. We're ordering a lot more things online. We're ordering food online, ordering groceries online, we're ordering all of our goods so we don't have to go into the store. This whole ability to stay away from each other has actually propelled a lot of these companies that were already in place. Uber Eats had already been around. Instacart, I'm sure, was already around, but it didn't make sense at the time, at least for us. It's like, why am I going to pay that much money? I'll just go to the store myself. But now when you look at it like there's a potential for you to catch the coronavirus by being out in public, it kind of makes sense. And now, argument aside, because I'm sure, there's only so much you can do. But when one driver, regardless of who they came in contact with, is delivering the groceries, how we handle or disinfect or do that from our front door, it far outweighs, I think, how we can try to handle ourselves out in the public, maneuvering, avoiding, wearing masks. I mean, the list goes on. So essentially this one person, they kind of are on the front line of this because they're providing a service to a lot of people who don't want to be in public spaces right now. I have my children to think about. I have my wife. I have my mother-in-law that I need to think about. And even that, I'll touch on that in a little bit too. But just siding on the side of caution is all we can do. And if it's spending an extra $20 to do that and to have that peace of mind, then by all means. Now, that's the service and, whatever. But again, like for us, we really had to think about that tip because this isn't normal circumstances. These are individuals who may very well have been down and out. They might have been working a job, providing an income for their family. And now they're having to do this. It's something completely different, something completely new. And if you look at the business model of Uber, that started out pretty good for some of these drivers and ended up turning upside down and being not very good for them. However, very good for their investors. I would hope that people take that knowledge when they're considering the tip amount for an Instacart driver. Because at least as far as the website is concerned, they say that 100% of the tip goes to the driver. Now, I'm not sure if that means that the driver only makes tip or if they're making a small wage and then the tip is extra. But that is something that is in the back of my mind when ordering through a site like this. Because if it was Uber, I would probably look at that and say, they're probably only working for tip and nothing else. There's a lot of restaurants, I think, that still have that kind of same model where it's like they make sub minimum wage and then tips end up bringing up the rest. So when I was using this service, I took that to heart and that swayed my decision on how much I decided on tipping. So if you guys decide to use a service like this, I hope that you think about that too, because it's not just a convenience that you're paying for, but there's also the fact that you don't have to be out there and put your own health and your own family's health at risk. It's really one person. And they're kind of, by financial means, it's like they have to. And by demand too. There's a demand for this. So getting on to talking about thinking about my family and thinking about my wife. I mean, my wife she comes through the door and, not to be too graphic or anything, but I mean, she just strips down as soon as she gets to because our garage then leads to the washer room where the washer dryer is and then into the house. So she pretty much strips down her clothes from the day and tosses them directly into the washing machine. Shoes stay in the garage. We can only do so much. But that is like, and then hands are getting washed right at the sink in the kitchen. And then she takes some disinfectant wipes and wipes down the handles that she just touched when she came in the house. So that's the level like we're kind of at, because my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, she is of that age group that is at risk. Not only that, but she also has some pre-existing conditions that really make it necessary for us to focus on how we conduct ourselves. Because if we were to get it, it might be a tough time. It might suck. And the odds are we'll come out the other end. At least I hope. I mean, I think that's I'm not sure like the recovery death percentages based on my age and, things like that. But with my mother-in-law, she is much older. She does suffer from things like bronchitis from time to time. So we don't leave the house unless it's for work. When it comes to thinking about ordering our groceries online, it is because of that fact that we don't want to put ourselves in a position where she can become infected by us. That would be a cold shame if we were the reason why, because she's not going anywhere. How is she going to catch it other than through us? It's the reason that the kids are home from school, and the list goes on. But I mean, I see it on TV. I see it on Facebook, and it sucks. It sucks for families who don't necessarily think about how serious this is, who just go about like, it's whatever. It's happening to other people. It's not happening to us. I think right here on the Central Coast, my wife and I were having a discussion about this. And again, don't quote me on it. It's like, do your own research. This is really just hearing a story from someone who heard the story from someone who heard the story. But they're like able to trace back like one family who kind of had it. And they just kept going around and like, having these family gatherings and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's how these things are happening. It's not necessarily like everybody's just going to the grocery store. Everyone's going off on spring break. Oftentimes it just takes one person, and then you continue to have these family gatherings, these times where you're getting together, and your inability to not do that puts people like Abuela, my mother-in-law, at risk. And so these are the things that go through my wife and I. They go through our mind. The kids are a whole nother story. I mean, we heard stories like on Instagram about this doctor who she shared a post online today about her son going through and testing positive for COVID-19, and the labored breathing and just the hard time being on a ventilator that he was having. And this is a little boy. This is not a teenager. This is not like, I mean, even if it was a teenager, as a parent, your child is always going to be that little baby that you stayed up till the wee hours of the morning and the late hours of the night caring for. That never changes. And so the fact that she's a doctor, she can understand the reality of what's happening. But as a mother, it's tearing her up inside. And the same thing goes for us. It would be a cold shame for any of us and a hard truth to swallow if we were to be the reason that my mother-in-law were to get infected. Because and then our minds just go wild at that point. Like, what do we do? We just take her to the hospital and then that's it. We don't see her. Like that's it. We have to take her to the hospital and then hope that she's going to get better. But that trip to the hospital may very well be the last time we ever get to see her. Like, that's the reality of this that I don't think people quite grasp. That if your loved ones or your family members get it and you take them to the hospital, a lot of them, at least from reports from doctors and nurses when they're pretty much providing updates about what's going on over in New York. In those instances, a lot of these people, they are just dying alone without their family. Now, they're not necessarily alone in a sense that the doctors and the staff are still there. So they have to provide that sort of physical connection by either sitting with them or talking with them, but it's not the same. It's not the same as your family, your wife, your children being there for you. And this is something that robs families of that. It robs them of that time to be with their loved one, to care for their loved one, because of the possibility of being infected themselves and being in that same position. It's a raw deal any way you slice it. And looking at just the trend of what is going on, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how we, as at least the United States, are handling this, and just not even calling blame on any side, whether you're Democrat or Republican. It is a shame that there are still states that do not have a shelter in place. I think it's a shame that the federal government doesn't want to just give a blanket statement for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks. You know, if it was 4 weeks ago, we would have been over it by now. If the federal government had just said, everybody shelter in place, shut it all down, cut the rent, cut the bills. Everybody's just on pause for a little bit. But we've just been like piddle-footing around this, just tiptoeing around it. Like, what is really going on here? You've got reporters questioning one thing. You've got politicians saying another thing. You've got doctors saying something even completely different, and no one's on the same page. And there are even people who aren't even involved in politics, just your regular everyday auntie, uncle, brother, whomever that you might know, that just think, man, I wish this would just be over already. I don't want the government telling me what to do. I want to go outside. You know, I do too. And I'm not sure what this is going to look like, what the new normal is going to be. I'm not sure what our reality is going to be like after this, because either it was just all one big, I don't know, clickbait news thing, because there are still diseases out there that were just as trendy back then, like swine flu, like SARS and things like that. And some of these things are just still around. They're just part of the regular flu season, part of the regular season of things. This COVID-19, this coronavirus, it may very well be something that just you got to get vaccinated for. And we're going to go back to people out there that are just like, vaccinations cause Alzheimer's or Asperger's, and they're not going to do it, and they're going to wonder why people are dying. And it's tough to think about. There's just so much that's going on in this world with this whole sheltering in place with, I don't know. The kids are definitely taking it as well as they can, being stuck indoors. We're implementing online schooling and just trying to do our best to keep them engaged and active. But even then, I bet they're probably thinking about the park and whatever happened to that. The store, why don't we go there anymore? And just why are they just cooped up in this house all of the time? We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this pans out. But one thing that I definitely want to leave on is that if you're out there and you're thinking to yourself that you want to avoid that contact with people and you really want to do your best or try your best sheltering in place, consider some of these online services, whether it's an Instacart for groceries or an app for a fast food restaurant that you might want to go to. There are other places that fortunately are still remaining open and you can order in for pickup. And that's really great because it provides some level of normalcy. Even though we can't go into our favorite restaurants like we used to, we can't go. I mean, it's been forever since we've been to CJ's over in Arroyo Grande for breakfast. They have really bomb breakfast too, and really amazing muffins. And just looking forward to going back to those places and just looking forward to having some level of normalcy. But I don't want to get on too long with this. I don't want it to sound too ranty or too down or anything like that, but just provide some level of context of where we are and what we're doing and what we're trying to implement in this household. And not saying that it's something that you guys have to do either. There's no right or wrong way. I mean, definitely washing your hands is the right way versus not. I mean, we can agree upon some things, but you know, when it comes to ordering groceries online, no one says that you have to, and no one's saying that that's the right way either. You can only do what you feel is best for you and yours. So if you guys have made it this far on the podcast, I want to thank you. And we don't have any YouTube video with this one. For some reason, my camera is down and out, so it's audio only. But I want to thank you guys for your continued listening ears. Be sure to leave a review or rate the show if you enjoy it. And until next time, you guys, see ya.